Hey, how's it going? Mr. Deadman. Welcome to Rant and Chill. On this channel, I like to rant and I like to chill. In this video, I'm probably going to be ranting. I like to do these things without a script. Just think about things in the moment with you and see how it works. There's one thing that's really on my mind right now, and that's, when I was younger, maybe you share the same experience. I was told often that the common cold, is something that you just can't get rid of. We've never gotten rid of the common cold because it's just that common. It's that frequent. It passes around very fast, very easy, very contagious. But it also has animal reservoirs. So even when people are fine and they don't have it, guess what? Somebody else has that cold virus. So why am I talking about that? Is because the common cold, the cold virus, is a coronavirus. The coronavirus that we're dealing with right now is a super modified cold virus brought to you by American money, Dr. Fauci, and China. That is a fact. It's funny, too, how we're listening to Dr. Fauci, who had a hand in funding that research that brought forth COVID. It's weird. It's like, are we listening to the right doctor? He seems like he could be the villain of the story, who's trying to protect himself, maybe, but at what cost does he? I have some concerns. Especially, I find it gross when people worship that man. They idolize him. That is sick. If you idolize that man, there's something wrong with you. I think that. Seriously, not a joke. Not hyperbole here. But what's on my mind is that, okay, so we got this super cold that came out from a lab, and it is very infectious, okay? People are really worried about it because it's very infectious, and it does bring people, it gets them sick. Not everyone. Some people handle it better than others. The recovery rate is really, really high. That's something that the media doesn't really tell you. And you can see it for yourself if you look at the numbers. The recovery rate is pretty high. Most people recover. But unfortunately, it can kill people. Pretty much like a flu or something else like that. It's a respiratory disease or virus. It could kill you if you have compromised immune system. Other health issues, other health problems, it could be very fatal. So my thoughts are right now is that, do I trust the government's approach in being very authoritative? And I'll look at other governments like Australia, where they go really locking down again, using COVID camps, COVID cabins to quarantine. It's another way to say a camp where they concentrate a lot of people that are sick. Interesting about that. Interesting. I wonder what the quality of food and water is like. I don't trust the government in this. I don't. Why would I trust any government in this? When governments have that sort of power to just quarantine people en masse into camps and facilities because they're sick, then what happens? Especially when that vaccine they give you, this might get me in trouble on YouTube, but that vaccine, the RNA vaccines, they're not, of course, they're not traditional vaccines. A traditional vaccine gives you part of the virus, your body fights the virus, and your body builds antibodies. That's what a vaccine is. These RNA vaccines, they're not giving you part of the virus. It's just a spike protein that your body fights. It's a spike protein that mimics the appearance of coronavirus, that mimics it, so your body fights to build tolerance. But it's not the same thing, and I think we're seeing that because these vaccines. Well, if they were super effective, why do we need boosters? And if they were super effective, why is it that people who have the vaccine are also spreading it, and are also part of why the virus is just mutating in them? Because they're reservoirs now. So the virus doesn't affect them, but they're still hosting it, and it just still thrives. Whereas if you had the polio vaccine, like like your body would fight that. Polio wouldn't just be floating around in your body. I mean, I don't think so. Otherwise, we get like super polio for those who didn't have the vaccine or whatever. Or super polio, and then it would mutate. We need a better vaccine. So, no, I don't trust the government on this, because would you give them that ability to just, like I said, quarantine people en masse? What then? I mean, they could look at those people and be like, they're lesser, so the quality of food at their stay at these camps is going to be subpar. They had that treatment at the Olympics. Apparently, if you're in quarantine, COVID at the Olympics, like your food was a sandwich, was 2 pieces of bread and cheese in the middle, and just subpar stuff, conditions, no access to a window really. Like you can't go outside, which is sad, because really one of the things that helps you is more vitamin D, and you get that from sunlight. But you have to be outside. You have to be outside, and I don't trust the government on this, and I don't trust these lockdowns. I don't even think they're all that effective, because we have Australia and New Zealand locking down because of what one or two cases. It was one case, right? One case. Crazy. Oh, complete overreaction. Shut down like that. Trying to purge a virus that has never been purged before, or a type of virus that has never been purged before out of humans. Because the truth is, even if they go, okay, we have no more cases in Australians, well, there's going to be some kangaroo that has COVID, and then it's going to mutate, and then it's going to bounce back to somebody else. Somebody else is going to get it when they're playing around with the kangaroo, and then bam, you got it again. It's that simple. It's going to spread. The virus is going to try to live as much as possible from host to host, and there's plenty of reservoirs for it to live in. So it's impossible. It's an impossible war. And here we are, where governments around the world are doing this war on X. That's an impossible war, and going to spend tons, billions, trillions of amount of money to fight this. Going to sacrifice everything. Going to crush liberties and crush, say, screw your laws, screw your freedom, in the effort to combat this. You compare it to the war on drugs, which was horrible, a complete failure, because it wasn't handled right. If you really wanted to stop drugs, you just go after the dealers, you go after the supplier. You know who they were in the very beginning of it, but they didn't, because the government was involved in spreading the drugs. So, I mean, and there's money to be made. So, no, that war stopped in the beginning. Besides, why would you, if you're tasked with, I should say this. There's more money to be made in not defeating whatever it is you're going against, or eliminating whatever it is you're going against, actually solving the problem. There's more money to be made in not solving the problem, I should say. I'd say like homelessness. You know why like homelessness is so rampant in certain cities. Let's say in San Francisco and LA and New York, where they have government organizations, government programs, and nonprofit organizations set to handle the homeless crisis, but they're not handling it, because if they were to actually solve it, then they wouldn't have homeless. I mean, they wouldn't have a problem anymore. So there's more money to be made in kind of like farming it or entertaining it. It's like, while there might be people that have good intentions, be like, okay, I really want to solve this problem. I really want to do what I can to make it possible, to get people off the street and into homes or whatever. And I know there's other factors too, like the homeless. Some of them don't really want to be in a home. They'd rather just be on the street, or there's drug addiction. And so it's like you could spit at me in all sorts of other factors in the comment section. But the thing is, all those other factors, we already have programs and things to address that. Like, as far as substance abuse, we have programs designed to address that are effective for those that want that. Okay, we have programs, and we have like therapy mental health services that do work for those that actually engage in it and want that. The problem is, I mean, the huge part of the problem, I think, is that you have these organizations that just would rather like softball the issue. That way they can continue to get more funding to continue to softball the issue. Because if they really tried hard to crack down on the issue and try to resolve it, then they're out of a job. Okay. Now, how does this relate to COVID? Do I think governments are just softballing this? No, I don't think that. Clearly, they're they're overreacting and really authoritarian here. But it's going to be a thing that's going to be around for a while. If you think COVID is going to be done with this year or next year, you're wrong. Like you are just wrong. This COVID-19 is going to be around for a long time, and it's going to continue to mutate. As long as we continue using vaccines that are like that, and I'm not a virologist, right? I'm not a biologist either, but I know that much. When you continue to use vaccines that aren't really the traditional vaccines and are not really doing the same thing as like something like the measles or polio would do, okay. And it especially as long as governments continue to have this idea that we could purge it out of humans, but what about the animals that get it? It's going to continue to be a thing. This could be around for a while. And it's going to be something that the media is going to use to continue to sell fear, because fear is great. Governments are going to use it to sell fear because fear is great for them. Gets their people in control. Hey, if they could tell you there's something out there that you must fear and only they can protect you, you will be more keen on following whatever the government says. I don't trust that. Do not trust that. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts about everything I've said so far? I mean, to break it down, my issue is with what I think is an overreaction from these governments. I understand they want to lock down to keep their people safe, to try to handle this virus and stuff, but it's not going to work. You can see that it's going to be constantly be an issue, and they're going to ramp it up. They're going to get even more authoritarian, even more strict. I don't know where you go from camps that house people. Where do you go from there? What's the next thing? I mean, we could, I don't know, think about certain ideas, certain things that happened in the past, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't want to be like a Tim Pool and go that far in the rabbit hole here. The other issue I have is now once again we have a government going to war against something that is just an impossible enemy, an impossible thing like drugs or homelessness or so yeah. Oh, like war on terrorism, right? That was very successful. Anyway, let me know what you thought about this in the comment section down below. Guys, ladies, take it easy. Try to stay safe out there. Okay, it's getting crazy.